I believe every network in the United States of America should be forced to play the video of the 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee that was stabbed 5 times and bled out, lost consciousness, and died in a subway car in Charlotte, North Carolina. Friends, it's Matt Murphy, The Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't know what you can do to get me more volume. I'm sorry to ask, Jackson, but the volume around me, everything else outside of the mic is louder than my mic. So I'm just letting you know. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm not asking you to do anything crazy in there. I'm just, getting you to monitor it. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Glad to have you with us on this Tuesday, September 9, 2025. Tune in, Spotify, iHeart. We have podcast up and available on the 99.7 WTN website. And, of course, Talk TV. All of those platforms are up and running and available for you. And we would love for you to join us, like, subscribe, give us the old thumbs up wherever you might be listening. I don't think you can do that on your radio dial. I don't know that that's possible. If you see a little thumbs up on your radio, try to poke it and see what happens. As a matter of fact, if you see something that's poke-worthy, try to poke it and see what happens and let us know how that goes. Ken Weaver's back in News Closet B. He joins us giving headlines, and from time to time he chimes in on a variety of issues. Man, it's always good to say hello to you, Ken.
How about you boys?
What you doing? What you doing over there?
I'm just writing up news, man.
Yeah, it's a lot going on in the news.
Yeah.
As always.
Yep. Lots.
So there you and we're going to talk about some of that in depth, and we invite you to give us a call on it. I have, once again, a guest-free day. I want you to be my guests on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm kind of on a pause on the 7th Congressional District. And I know that Jody was on with Chad. I think Gino was on with Chris Hand earlier today.
Yes, sir.
I think Marcia was on with Dan. I mean, there's a lot of politicians making the rounds. We're beginning that season again. Believe it or not, 2026 will be here before you know it. I know that 7th Congressional District deal will happen a lot sooner than that. But I'm kind of on a pause right now. It is a conscious pause on all of that. I don't know why. I just am. I've got other issues on my mind that I want to talk with you about. One of them is where we go with regard to I need to figure out where we go with regard to crime and punishment in the United States of America. And it's where I'm going to start the opening monologue. But before I do that, we want to remind you of what today is. It's episode 880. I don't know if I've said that already. It's 235 of 1460.5. That's Donald Trump's second term in office. I mentioned Ken Weaver said hello to him. I've not said hello to the young and soon-to-be erstwhile executive producer of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. He is none other than Jackson Williams. I feel like I'm going to be seeing a little too much of you this weekend.
Go Vols.
So did we say this yesterday that you're riding to the game with me?
Yeah, we talked about it right off the top. Ken, how do you think this is going to go? If Tennessee wins, how long until I'm left on the side of 40?
You boys need to Facebook Live that entire trip.
We're going to do some of it,
It'll
Ken.
get taken down.
We're going to do some of it. I think there's going to be, hey, Jackson just got to the house. We're loading up in the car. Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
Oh, look, Jackson's wearing his orange and Matt's wearing his red and black. Isn't that cute?
It's Checker Neyland.
And then on the way, we'll take a little video in the car. Hey, look at everybody with their little Tennessee flags. Everybody's happy.
And then on the way home, Matt's going to be sad.
Then we're pulling in. Hold on, don't get home yet. Pulling in. We're going to pull in. We'll do a little video when we get there at the tailgate. Eating a hot dog.
Having a libation.
Sipping on a cold beer or whatnot. Oh, it'll be great. Everybody's happy.
And then comes kickoff.
And the war is on. And I told Jackson that I said, I'm not kidding. If Tennessee wins this football game, I'm going to congratulate you. And you're going to accept my congratulations. And I will expect that there will be a friendly amount of banter. But when you get in the Mazda on the way home, when it's time for the banter to be done, I don't have any issue with pulling over on the side of I-40 and putting you out.
Ken, will you come get me?
I may not be able to, Brother Jackson.
I'm just so everybody knows. Jackson and I were talking like a week ago. And I said, Jackson, I might have you a ticket. And Jackson, his ears perked up. He got very excited. He said, really? I said, I might have you a ticket. And I said, I'll let you know. And he said, okay. Very good. And so earlier this week, we finalized it yesterday.
Yeah.
I said to him yesterday, I said, Jackson, I got you a ticket. And Jackson was very excited. And about 5 minutes later, Jackson says, hey, I'm going to need a ride home. No. And I'm like, what? And he goes, well, I've got the Titans game to do Sunday morning, starting at 11 o'clock. And my buddy that I'm riding over with, he's staying the nights with some friends. And so I can't. So do you mind bringing me? And I was like, no, man, I'll give you a ride home. That's cool. And like 5 minutes after that, Ken, he goes, hey, I'm going to need a ride over there too. I'm like, what?
I love it.
And he said, well, my buddy, it's Thursday. I don't even know what he said after that. I was like, do you want me to bring you snacks too, Jackson?
I would appreciate a snack.
How about some tissues to dry those little Tennessee tears?
No, when they run through the tea, I do shed a tear.
I'll say this. We were there a couple of years ago. It was the first time in Neyland Stadium, and I'll give all due credit to the Big Orange. I mean, obviously, it is a fine tradition, and congratulations on that. I mean, it's a fine tradition.
Big old stadium. Big old stadium.
I know. I told my poor dog, I was talking to my dog, Larry Munson, about that last night. I'm not even kidding. I was talking to the dog about it, and I was like, Munson, I said, I don't think there's a possibility of you running through that tee. I was like, because Munson kind of wanted us to run through the tee. I was like, because I had it up on video, the running through the tee. I was like, I don't think they're going to let you run. I think you would have to save a busload of orphans, Munson, before they let you, and then probably wouldn't let you run through the tee because you're a Georgia dog.
That's right.
So they don't like those.
How is Mrs. Beasley going to handle your day of excursion?
And she has to have a special sitter that comes to the house.
Oh, little Miss Beasley.
Miss Beasley has a little pet sitter that comes to the house and sits with her. It's a little Erica's friend from church. Her daughter comes over, and we pay her a little money, and she just sits with the dogs and watches little foosball, and makes herself at home. She always has a nice snack, a little snack array.
Yeah, Miss Beasley likes that.
Oh boy, yeah, Miss Beasley gets all of that she can handle. But, so a big game. We're very excited, and that's all we're going to talk about.
Have you seen the title for today's show?
I have not.
I would like for you to pull it up right now.
All right.
Ken, have you seen it?
I have not seen it, man.
Boy. See, I get on to Jackson because Jackson comes to me like 2 minutes before the show. I got a lot going on. I'm trying to handle a lot of things. My entire house smells like poop right now. More on that later. Entire house, Weaver, smells like poo. Human poo. And Matt Murphy is scared of the Neyland Stadium troughs. Y'all don't have the ones where you face one another, do you?
No.
Bryant Denny had those at one point.
Oh, gosh. Ours are against the wall.
No, there were circles, and you had to face. It's like, how
you doing?
Why are you forcing this on people? Hey, how are you? I'm just going to look up here and pee somewhere. Matt Murphy is scared of the Neyland Stadium. I am not scared of the trough. Well, they're deep. That's all I know.
Who's deep?
The troughs in Neyland.
Oh.
Jackson's making a joke about the bathroom facilities at Neyland Stadium.
Oh.
Those troughs are legendary.
Apparently, they're just along the – I think I remember this from a couple of years. They're just along the wall, right?
Yeah.
Just one – and everybody's pee just intermingles with one another and goes down the same drain.
Yes.
Oh, isn't that
and
great?
There's Jack Daniels bottles and all kinds of various
That's
nonsense.
Old school.
Nonsense in there. That is kind of old school. I don't think we like all that. Well, I'll use the facilities, Jackson, if necessary. I think I'll probably have a private bathroom, honestly.
Oh,
wherever I'm at. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know.
Sneak up in one of those suites.
I don't know. They're going to let me in there with what I'm going to be wearing.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
going to be wearing the wrong colors for all of that, I believe.
That's right, yeah.
I'm going to call the fan. You can call that number, Ken, if you see an unruly fan.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to find out where Matt's sitting.
Hey, we got ourselves another Philly Karen in this stadium over here. He's stealing things.
Just find old Greg Sankey. He'll let you in.
Yeah, you do that, Jackson, and let's see how you get home. So whatever you do in the stadium, starting at 3:30 Eastern time, Knoxville time, just remember that you still have to have a ride home. Anyway, so there'll be lots of smack talk between now and Friday. I am certain on that, and thanks for that. That's great. This is what I get for not telling you what the title of the show.
You
right?
told me to come up with my own title.
I did. So I feel like this is all my fault. So yeah, the house smells like poo. Just real quick, I don't mean to open I've got a lot to discuss with the United States justice system and where we are with regard to how we handle these issues from a media perspective, because apparently the mainstream media is only covering this story to tell those of us who are covering the story that we're racists, that we're racist. Am I a racist for pointing out that the vast majority of violent crimes per capita happening in the United States of America is at the hands of black men? Does that make me racist? Because I was to understand that we wanted to have a discussion about race in this country. We wanted to have a discussion about race and justice in the United States of America. That we wanted to have a discussion about things like, and I'm using liberal terminology on purpose, mass incarceration. By the way, no such thing as mass incarceration. There is no such thing as mass incarceration. I'll say it one more time for those of you in Aniana. There is no such thing as mass incarceration. People are judged by their individual acts. They are those criminal acts are judged by a jury of one's peers in our United States justice system, and you are found guilty or not guilty depending on the evidence presented in a court of law, and you are individually sentenced as a result of your individual crimes. Now, maybe you're committing those crimes with other people, but if that's the case, they are judged individually as well. There's no such thing as mass incarceration, except that we have to have a place to keep all those criminals and bad guys and people that want to do nasty things to law-abiding citizens. Now, that said, is it okay that we have this discussion? Because I'm told that we want to have it. I am told that we want to discuss these types of things. When issues like Trayvon Martin come up, when storylines such as, what was his name? Michael Brown come up in Ferguson, Missouri. When George Floyd becomes a national headline, a political hot potato, and ultimately a summer of rioting and destruction across the United States of America. I'm told at those points that it is necessary to have a discussion about race and criminal behavior in the United States of America and how people are judged differently based on the color of their skin, that storylines are presented differently based on the color of one's skin. But now, when you cannot find a media outlet that will cover this story except to say that anyone covering this story is somehow racist for pointing out the fact that it was a black male and a white female involved in the case, I only point that out to say, not to suggest, not to beat around the bush. It is time to call these things out as they happen. There is no question that if this were a white man that killed a black woman and then said, "I got me a black girl," there is no question that this would be the only story on media headlines today, tomorrow, and for the foreseeable future. Now, I don't want it to be this way. I want all of these things to be routinely covered, and I want them to be dealt with as best we possibly can. And we need to talk about mental illness. It's a complex issue that must be discussed. But why in the world are we shying away from what is obviously happening in front of our faces? Sadly, it is because of fear. Because political leftists and race baiters have created a dynamic through fear. It is the cancel culture 1.0 that if you discuss this, and you say the wrong thing or you say the right thing in the wrong way, you will be immediately canceled. There is a possibility that by discussing what I'm about to discuss today, that there will be calls for my job. I don't doubt it. Matt Murphy's a racist. Matt Murphy's this, that, and the other thing. Matt Murphy's all of these. None of that impacts me whatsoever. Now, I don't want to lose my job, obviously. And I would hope that my company would have my back. But all of these people out there in the hinterland that hide in the shadows behind social media posts, behind emails, they don't come out and have this discussion openly and say who they are and what they're about and what they believe in. All of those people that do these types of things, these cancel culture nonsense people, they don't frighten me whatsoever. You can call me whatever you want. I know that I'm not a racist, and I don't have to defend myself to you. I also know that what happened on that Charlotte subway was wrong, regardless of the skin color, and it's wrong how the media decides to cover it based on the color of the person that was attacked. And you know I'm telling you the truth. I don't care what your politics are. You know that I'm telling you the truth. Just sit back for a moment and you tell me, if this were a white man and he attacked a black woman and stabbed her 5 times and left her to bleed out and lose consciousness, and then before leaving the subway car said twice, "Got me a black girl," which, by the way, in case you don't know, this scumbag said those words, said, "Got me a white girl." You're telling me that CNN wouldn't be covering this? You're telling me that ABC, NBC, CBS, the New York Times, the Washington Post would not be covering this? It is time that we talked about criminal behavior in the United States of America and why it's happening. And there are oftentimes deeper-seated root causes, and I'm willing to talk about all of it. I'm willing to talk about all of it from any perspective that you're willing to talk about. But you have to accept certain undeniable facts when it comes to this discussion about where violent crime is coming from. And we have to figure out how to stop it. It's 25 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. .99.7 WTN. Interested in your thoughts, 37 after 3. The number is 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. You can also super text us. So, God Said, and it's G-A-D-S-A-A-D, Gad Said, and I have difficulty pronouncing his name, but he is he's an influencer. I think he was in Canada for a while. He's been on Fox on several occasions. He's a regular on Gutfeld, written a couple of books. He has written on social media, and he's exactly right. This is on the X Machine. A society that burns neighborhoods and calls for the defunding of the police for a guy on the left, and that is George Floyd, and largely ignores the public butchering of the woman on the right, and that is the 23-year-old that we've been discussing, whose name is Irina Zarutska. Irina Zarutska, Ukrainian refugee. Left Ukraine because of the brutality of the war over there. I thought we valued those Ukrainian refugees. Anyway, Gad writes, a society that burns neighborhoods and calls for the defunding of police for the guy on the left and largely ignores the public butchering of the woman on the right is one that is drowning in the infinity pool of suicidal empathy. 100% accurate. 100% accurate. It's okay to have a discussion about appropriate policing in the aftermath of George Floyd, but that's not what happened. Sadly, we began having a discussion about crime and punishment, and it devolved into a discussion about defunding police departments because of a perception of racism. It was never established that what Derek Chauvin did had anything to do with the color of George Floyd's skin. And obviously, we can all dissect the 9.5 minutes, the better part of 10 minutes, and recognize that better decisions could have been made, even while recognizing that the drugs coursing through George Floyd's body had a lot to do with his death, as much as anything to do with his death, according to the autopsy reports. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about a mainstream media that sadly leads discussion and pushes certain narratives. And emotionally, they create this atmosphere by which non-thinking people, and I'll say it, just people that don't pay attention, that don't think for themselves, that react emotionally to some of these issues, they oftentimes get riled up into a boil because of the manner in which the mainstream media decides to present these stories. At the time of George Floyd, I made the point, and I don't remember the exact statistics now, I had them at my fingertips then, that there were like, every year there's like an average of 3.75 million police interactions with people across the United States of America. And it is a minuscule, an absolute minuscule portion of those interactions that end in a negative way. And the vast majority of the interactions that end in a negative way end in a negative way. And what I mean by that is a shooting. They end in that manner because of the individual that is accused of wrongdoing, as judged and not by the police officers themselves necessarily, as judged by the public and ultimately, in some cases, by a jury. The mainstream media has decided that they're not going to talk about certain issues based on skin color. Is that right? Do you feel like it is right that they decide which stories that they are going to cover based on the color of the victim's skin? Yesterday, and I will not replay it necessarily, but yesterday I shared with you a very emotional final scene of a movie called A Time to Kill, which involved the rape of a young black girl and the criminal charges against white men who were accused of that crime. And in the course of Matthew McConaughey offering his closing statement, he asked the jury to close their eyes and to imagine what happened to this little girl, imagine the fear and the trauma, imagine all of this. And he went through the grotesque, horrific details. And then while the jury's eyes were closed, he said, now I want you to imagine that she's white. Because he understood that there might be a barrier between some of the white jurors judging that case and that little black girl. And if you think differently when you imagine that the skin color changes, then you need to examine yourself. And you need to make sure that you are treating this case with fairness and equality and a blind sense of justice. And I thought about that last scene because I asked the mainstream media to do this very thing. And they refuse. Instead, they fault you and I and the President of the United States for bringing it up. They claim that it's now being used. The New York Times did not do one story on this case, not one, until yesterday afternoon. And when they did it, this was the headline: a gruesome murder in North Carolina ignites a firestorm on the right. Security footage capturing the unprovoked stabbing in Charlotte became an accelerant for conservative arguments about the perceived failings of Democratic policies. Perceived failings of Democratic policies? Of the 20 most violent-prone cities in the United States of America, 19 of them are run by Democrats. Who's failing whom? Oh, the political left loves to talk about red state violence, like right here in the state of Tennessee. They love to remind us that in Tennessee, we're in the top 10 in violence and violent crime. And it's all because of Memphis and Nashville, all of it. Well, not all of it, but you understand what I'm saying. The reason Tennessee's in the top 10 is a direct result of Memphis first and Nashville second. Both cities run by blue mayors, blue city councils. It's most certainly blue policies that are creating this, that are causing this. And they would prefer the cities burned to the ground. They would prefer that their citizens be endangered. They would prefer that people like Irina Zarutska be killed than to address the root causes of the problem. And to ask ourselves, what are our inner city crime problems? What's the genesis? And what could we do to stop them? And that begins by identifying where the crime comes from. And suddenly everyone goes quiet when you get to that point because they don't want to identify where the crime's coming from. Because of fear. Because the fear that the cancel culture will come after you if you look at the data and analyze the data. And I understand that there perhaps might be some legitimate reasons why young black males are responsible for more crime than any other demographic in the United States of America, and it's not close. That doesn't mean that white people don't commit crimes. Of course white people commit crimes. That doesn't mean that brown people don't commit crimes and Asian people commit crimes. Of course, and women commit crimes. Of course they do. Why are you changing the subject, I say? Inner city crime in Chicago, and it's more often than not black on black crime. And the damn media networks won't cover that either. And that should make African American people madder than hell. The bad guys are killing y'all and all of us, and we do nothing. And the mainstream media says nothing because it doesn't fit their narrative either. Instead, you have commentators, and I know this is a few years old, you have commentators like Don Lemon, who said, white supremacist men are the biggest terrorist threat in the United States of America. And it's just not even close to being true. Yet they preach this nonsense on national networks. And they won't study the data. I don't have anything against anybody for what it's worth. I mean, I start with a fresh slate for what it's worth. But I also have to look at data, and I have to understand if I'm analyzing a situation, what's creating the situation that we're currently analyzing, and what can we do to prevent it? What are the causal factors? And there might be legitimate factors. It might be poverty or lack of education or lack of opportunity or lack of fathers in the homes. Whatever it might be, we have to identify it before we can talk about it. And these same leaders within the Democrat Party, the same leaders within the African-American community that claim that they want to have this discussion, they shut down when I get real like this. Why? Why are you shutting down? No one's blaming anyone. We're trying to solve an issue that is plaguing the inner city community, that's plaguing the African-American community a hell of a lot more than it's plaguing the white community. And all I want to do is help. And yet when I bring this up, I promise you that somewhere an email will be sent to my bosses saying that I'm a racist. I guarantee it. Why? Now, why did no one help this woman? There are answers for that. I'm sad to tell you. I believe, in my opinion. I think primarily it was due to fear. a fear born of a belief that you are a passive observer to circumstances around you. I mean, I don't fault people put in that circumstance. I just don't understand it. I don't for the life of me. If you watch the video, and I began the show by saying that everyone should have to watch it. The network should have to play it. Y'all shouldn't. I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, it's grotesque. It's horrifying. It's awful. And every American should be forced to face it. Why should the mainstream media networks get an opportunity to give a pass to the American people to observe what is really going on? Is it relatively speaking, is it rare? Sure. Is it acceptable? Of course it's not acceptable. And what is less acceptable is this idea that we're all just passive observers. Why are we such passive observers? Now, if you are a person that maybe you don't have physical strength, or maybe you don't have items that you feel like you can use to defend yourself, or you fear that individual, that crazed, mentally deranged individual that just for no reason assaulted a woman on a subway car, that they would turn their crazy against you. I understand that. I understand. Fear is a very natural response to what went down. What I don't understand is when this dude walked away from her, and this 23-year-old woman who thought that she had escaped the worst of her life slowly died in a subway car by herself because the people that were sitting around her got up and walked away. They just walked away. How in God's name do you just walk away? Fear? Indifference? Do you just not care that a woman is bleeding to death? No one bothered to go over to her at all. They looked at her as if she were a distraction, and they got up out of their seats and they walked away. I don't understand that. But I want to try to, because I think that's a problem as well. 615-737-9986. It's 8 until 4 on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I understand there was a level of fear on that train car. I also think that the fear, some of it was not regarding fear of the assailant necessarily, but fear of reprisal against individuals that were willing to step in. I think of Daniel Penny. We talked about this yesterday. Daniel Penny stepped in, and instead of being hailed as a hero on a New York subway car, he was charged with criminal behavior. He was charged with manslaughter. Because he held a man who was physically threatening the rest of the train car in a way to try to subdue him, and it unfortunately led to that individual's death. Daniel Penny didn't want to kill anybody, but he was trying to protect other people on that train car. Sadly, the city of New York decided to prosecute Daniel Penny. Why? Why would you not give Daniel Penny the benefit of the doubt? Why would you not encourage individuals to stand up for their own individual liberties and rights and defend themselves in the face of someone along those lines? What happens when we watch as Daniel Penny has to have his life ruined for the better part of a year and a half while he has to go through a trial? Thank God there were people that were willing to step up and pay for his criminal defense. All right, I want your calls on this. I've talked enough on it. 615-737-9986. We'll hear from President Donald J. Trump about this matter coming up in just a moment. But first, we'll hear from Ken Weaver in the newsroom on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.